Actually, devotees are, one of the qualities of a devotee is to be abhayam, to be fearless. But until we fully are embodying being a devotee, we have many fears, many of them unwarranted, but then there is some warranted fears as well. And so we'll talk about that today. Well, the Bhagavatam is going to talk about it. I'll just kind of reflect it. Also, there is a nice pastime in the Bhagavatam that happened today. I was just looking at the calendar, and I was like, oh, it's Virabhadra's appearance. Maybe you've ever done yoga before, Matt? You've heard of Warrior 1, Warrior 2, Warrior 3? Virabhadrasana 1, Virabhadrasana 2, Virabhadrasana 3. These are, it's been translated out to warrior, but there's Virabhadra is a mystical warrior created by Lord Shiva's wrath. And why? What was the whole purport of it? It was actually blasphemy of the devotee. Daksha, who is, maybe you've heard of the name Sati. Daksha was Sati's father, and Sati was his chaste and proper daughter, and she ended up getting married to Lord Shiva, which is, actually Lord Shiva is superior to Daksha before the marriage, but then after the marriage, Shiva would take the role of, like, say, a son-in-law to Daksha, even though, before the marriage, Shiva was a more superior personality, but due to marrying his daughter, naturally, her father is my superior because, that's my wife's father. He's like my father. So anyway, there was a mistake on the part of Daksha. It's etiquette when one enters an assembly, a superior personality, you should stand up to greet them. Like, let's say a guru entered in here, or a sannyasi, or a swami, or an experienced devotee. We should all stand up to greet him, and wow, So anyway, Daksha came, and many people, most of the assembly stood up, but Lord Shiva did not stand up, because he was actually engaged in intense bhajan, or meditation on the Lord. So he was not at fault for doing this, because actually he's a superior personality, and he has his own share of the sacrifices. But anyhow, Daksha took great offense to this, because this is my wife's husband, and he would do like this. So anyway, he started deriding Shiva, and then eventually word got out that Daksha did not like Shiva anymore. So Shiva is very tolerant, so he just accepted. But Sati did not like. This is also the nature of the woman. Men, we can be a little bit more, accepting of certain things, and the ladies are not, tolerant of hardships. Where ladies will get much more frustrated and may act out of emotion. Well, Sati did this, and Shiva warned her, do not go to this. Daksha was having a sacrifice, and it was well known that Shiva didn't get the invite, and neither did Sati, because she was married to Shiva. But I'd be like, I'm always welcome in my home. I can go there. I want to see my family, my relatives. It was like a big social event. So Lord Shiva warned her, don't go. You should not go. They'll just mistreat you, and you'll just feel very sad and all these things. So Sati, of course, due to her emotional nature, not wasn't thinking practically. She decided, I have to go. I have to go. So Shiva said, fine. He noticed she left, and he sent his. He had followers to follow her and escort her there with proper protection. But of course, what Shiva said was correct, and Daksha neglected her. And then it was even, Daksha also publicly blasphemed her husband in front, which is, there's nothing more embarrassing for a woman than to have her husband, publicly shamed, in the assembly. So she was disgusted with Daksha. And she became so disgusted that her body, who's her father, she became so disgusted that her body was a product of Daksha, that she decided, I'm giving up this body. I want no connection with you. You're such a degraded, debaucherous human being, or a demigod, actually, and I want nothing to do with you. So actually, it's still known today, when a man dies, and a woman enters fire, she would light his funeral pyre on fire, and then a lot of the very chaste Vedic women, they would actually enter the fire and join their husband in the after death. And that's still to this day called sati. Why? Because that happened. Sati self-immolated herself through her mystic yogic abilities, because she was also qualified. Shiva was a master, is like the master yogi. And Sati also, she self-immolated herself. And Shiva was so upset by the turn of events that he ripped out one of his dreadlocks and he dashed it to the ground, and he started laughing like maniacally, like with so much anger. And that dreadlock turned into the fearsome warrior Virabhadra. And Virabhadra went and he punished everyone at the sacrifice, especially Daksha, by killing him and ripping off his head. And then also some
yoga pose comes from.
Yes, yeah. Actually, it's, I think the Virabhadra 1 is taking the axe up. Virabhadra 2 is, I think, beheading him. Yeah, beheading him, and then Virabhadra 3 is sticking his head on a post. So that's where the yoga poses come from. So that actually happened today. So it's just auspicious to talk about. But also the main emphasis of this is to never. What's the first rule that will destroy your spiritual life? If you blaspheme a devotee of the Lord, you're finished. The Lord will take you down so quickly. So Daksha got beheaded because of this great offense of blaspheming Lord Shiva. And you can see in your life, because you'll meet a lot of devotees over time, and then you'll notice some material qualification of a devotee you don't like at some point. And then,
what is it?
What's that?
What we never should do.
To blaspheme a devotee, meaning to criticize and to judge a devotee unnecessarily, especially from a material point of view. So a lot of times this happens. There might be a devotee he's maybe a little fatter, or he's a little, the devotee's also still working on things. But if you criticize one of Krishna's devotees, finished. He will chastise you so severely. Trust me, I know. I know all the time. Even sometimes with you guys, if I'm a little too hard on you guys, Krishna lets me know, and I say, oh gosh, all right, go easy, go easy on them. Go back, ask for forgiveness. So you'll notice this in your life, but this pastime happened today. So Virabhadra ki jai, he's. But then end of the story was that Daksha gets beheaded. All of the priests and things who also were laughing at Daksha's, because sometimes when you make a joke at someone's expense or you criticize them, there's others though, they laugh and things like that if you embarrass someone. So all those who laughed at the expense of Lord Shiva and Sati, Virabhadra punished them all very severely in different ways. But Daksha got the most severe. He had his head chopped off. But then due to the request of Brahma and all the great personalities, they said, actually, we need Daksha for certain things. Can we please, can you please do something to revive him? Release your anger. And so Lord Shiva said, no problem, I have an idea. And he took one of the goats that was going to be for the sacrifice, and he put the goat's head back on Daksha. So Daksha was known until he left that body and got a new body, which is also part of the Bhagavatam. But Daksha got a goat head for some time to teach him the lesson of not to criticize or chastise a devotee, especially a devotee who's superior in qualification to you. So a devotee who's superior in bhajan and realization to you, if you, especially them, you deride them in any which way, Krishna will, he will not be happy. Yes.
So he got beheaded.
Beheaded.
They put the goat head on. He's still alive, and he has a goat head.
Now he actually left that body, and he got a nicer demigod body again.
Okay.
So he still has that. But
they put the goat head on him after he got beheaded.
Yes, after he got beheaded, he got
a new body, and they give him a goat head to continue.
No, he the same body as before, put a goat head on it.
Okay.
And then he continued like that for some time until he served out his punishment. And then he actually ended up, I forget what happened, but he needed a new body. So he actually died, left that body, but knew he was going to be reincarnated in a newer, more suitable body for his service. because he was to be a Prajapati. A Prajapati means to have, to populate the universe. He's one of the Prajapatis. So he was one of the, ancient original beings that, and the Prajapatis, they not only populated, say, mankind, but all the different species of existence. These demigods populated, actually. This is the Vedic canon. I cannot prove it to you. I cannot say, look here, But this is the way you could say the story goes. But yeah, Daksha, he needed a more suitable body than a goat head to be a Prajapati, because probably to mate and create, it's not the ideal thing. So so like that, Daksha is, but his punishment was today. So you can reflect in your life, maybe you just be very careful what you criticize, what opinions you form. Actually, there's a verse in the Nectar of Instruction, Drishtai Swabhava Janiteva Pushashcha Dosher Na Prakritatva Bhakta Janasya Pasher Gangam Basang Na Kalubud Buddhafena Panker Brahma Javatvama Pagachati Niradharmai. What that means is you seeing the nature born of the body of a devotee. This should not be done. You should not see with material vision the body of a devotee. Like for instance, maybe many of the Western devotees, when Prabhupada started initiating them, many Indians, Orthodox Indians, they're like, these people come from such degraded families, such degraded birth, look at their bodies, they grew up eating meat, doing this, that, and the other thing. And instead of evaluating their character, they give all these material considerations and blaspheme them. This should never, ever, ever be done. And the Lord, nothing can take you farther away from the Lord than that, to blaspheme one of the Lord's devotees. So there's many, many things like that. So some devotee might, seem to walk a little crooked. Some devotee might have what would normally be a material disqualification. But actually the real understanding of the devotee is what is his internal realization. Unless you understand that person's connection with the Lord, you can't really understand that. So you have to be very careful with forming opinions about devotees, things like that. But any blasphemy of a devotee it's the number one rule, never to do, unless you just never want to have spiritual bliss in your life. Krishna will never allow. So anyway, today is the pastime. One of the pastimes, so many pastimes in the Bhagavatam highlighting this point. Do not see devotees with material vision. To try to understand everybody's actually has a relationship with Krishna. And we chant Trinadapi Sunichena, to be more humble than a blade of grass. Tarorapi Sahishnana, to be more tolerant than a tree. Amanina, to not have any pride, not to think oneself better than anyone else. This includes any of the degraded politicians you don't like. This includes any of the social activist groups you don't like, or the people you deem weird, or things like this. We're not better. It doesn't matter, what they're doing. Transgender, this gender, that gender, it doesn't matter. Everybody is equally a dog, a blade of grass, a tree. Everyone is equal at the soul level. So the devotee actually has this realization, and only by having this extreme humility, called manina, amanina, giving up pride, and manadena, and learning how to respect everyone properly, then you have a chance to always be able to call out for the Lord, which is our main process. So, because our disqualifications, we're not attracted at all in pursuing the Lord, in thinking of the Lord, in chanting the Lord's name, doing His archana, His worship, and so on. We're very much wanting to enjoy and be the enjoyer of this world due to our ignorance. And so anyhow, one of the ways that we can guarantee we'll always be in ignorance is we blaspheme the devotees of the Lord. So this is, today is highlighted, this pastime. It's from the Bhagavatam, so I thought I should share it. Why not? But now, to actually, in the spirit of continuing our reading of the Bhagavatam, we should at least read one or two verses. So, we'll chant some prayers. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Rayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udiraye. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the reigns of
Conquest. One should offer respectful obeisances unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayana, unto Lord Narayana Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Shrimatam Swakatha Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Vidyantastoya Bhadrani Vidunoti Shubhitsata.
Shri Krishna is Paramatma, the super soul in the heart of each living entity, the benefactor of the truthful devotee. Cleanses the heart of material desire of the devotee, whose wealthy urge to hear his messages, which are themselves virtuous and properly heard and chanted. Nashta prayeshva bhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhakti bhavati naishtaki. By regular hearing of the Bhagavatam and by rendering service to the pure devotee, almost all that is troublesome to the heart is completely destroyed by the personality of God, whose praise of transcendental songs is established as an irrevocable fact. Yeah. So by hearing the Bhagavatam, your ignorance will be relinquished, and therefore your material desires will also be relinquished. These material desires, which causes suffering, are coming out of our ignorance. And what will come instead, by hearing the messages of the Lord, is actually love for the Lord Himself will arise. And by regular hearing of this Bhagavatam, and by rendering service to the pure devotees described in the Bhagavatam, all troubles that are happening due to our ignorance will be destroyed almost completely. And then love for Krishna will keep rising. So this is our process we'll do. We'll chant some verses honoring... Oh my God. This is like grammar. No problem. We will chant the Mangala Charana in honor of the great personalities who have relieved us from ignorance and are adding their commentaries, like Srila Prabhupada, of this Vedic wisdom scriptures so that we can have realization. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnana Jana Shalakaya Chakshur Militam Yena Tasmashri Hare Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Svayam Rupa Kadamaya Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Tapadakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavasya Shri Rupam Sarvatam Sadhana Raghunatham Kamsajivam Sadhaitam Sadhutam Abhijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sadhana Rita Shri Rita Panditam Sya Hare Krishna Karansidho Dina Bando Jagate Gopis Gopika Namaste Bhakta Kanchana Gaurani Radhe Radhaneshwari Vishnavani Devi Namaste Panchakalpa Sureshwar Vikasam Vinde Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Sasadi Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Namo Shivaya, Krishna Shivaya, Srimate Bhagavatam Swami Nityananda. Namaste Saraswati Devi, Gaurani Pachadine, Nirvishesha Shura, Satyavadi Vishvadine. Thank you, Sampat. All right, let's read a few verses. We talk about a pastime from the Bhagavatam today, but let's continue on where we are. Last we talked about, O chaste, when the king's good name, duration of life, and good rebirth vanish, when all kinds of living beings are terrified by miscreants in his kingdom. So the ruler, like a president and a king, he is actually responsible for his subjects in the kingdom. and all of his good fortune will be finished if the people in his kingdom are terrified. So this is very important to know. It is certainly the prime duty of the king to subdue first the sufferings of those who suffer. Therefore I must kill this most wretched man because he is violent against other living beings. If we remember, Kali, he is abusing the Mother Earth in the form of a cow, and then Yamaraj or Dharmaraj in the form of a bull. And this is very symbolic because it's understanding what will happen in this age. And one of the main issues is the abuse. All misfortune is coming due to the abuse of the most important animal, the most, you could say, beneficial animal to mankind, which is the cow and the bull, actually. We talked about it, how medicinal, even, the cow's stool even is extremely beneficial. It's the best agriculture. Every farmer knows this. It's the best agricultural fertilizer is cow dung. Not a lot of people know this. Both cow dung and cow urine, this isn't happening in any other animal, is antiseptic. It actually kills bacteria, and it's amazing actually. So actually a lot of cleaning products, especially in India, and even medicinal products feature cow urine and even cow dung. So you guys probably know that, but maybe that's news to you. Yeah. So, but the cow is in every level. The mother cow can literally eat grass and turn that into milk, and so many things coming from milk, yogurt, cheese, this, that, and the other. Thousands of preparations can be made. And then on top of that, if you treat her and her calves properly, she'll continue to give milk for years after the calf no longer needs. And she'll happily. Nowadays, science is practically lost, and they recycle the cows, and that's a nice way for saying they send them out to slaughter every 2 to 3 years, because the cows don't have that relationship with those who are supposedly caring for them. But for those who have that type of relationship with the cow, cows can give milk for 10 to 12 years, 15 years, even heard some extraordinary cases, after the calves are long gone. Why? Because there's a relationship. Anyway, the cow is extremely important, so it's fitting that in Kali Yuga the abuse of these cows would be taking place, and Kali is doing just that. He was a Shudra, which is a low-class person. We're all actually of that class. The employee class, those who serve others, who, to try to, sustain themselves. The servant class, of a monarchy, the peasants. And guess what? We're all peasants, in this material world. Not all, but most of us are of that peasant class, you could say. Kali is that. He's like a Shudra, but he's dressed like a king. And this is very fitting because in Kali, this age, there will be people who are only qualified to be like peasants, dressed in the rulership clothes and actually ruling people. And in that, when they start to rule, they'll start to abuse all kinds of the living entities. And that's what you're seeing. There's actually a qualification to rule. There's a religious qualification to rule. You understand certain levels of enlightened religious principles, and then you can rule a kingdom. But nowadays, anyone, you could just vote for. You could just be the most popular peasant. And the next thing you know, you become, or you become, now we have mostly, actually it's not even the peasants ruling, we have the business class people, they rule mostly in capitalism. But communism, and socialism, which are the next phase, it's going to eventually go to that. That's completely peasants ruling. But right now the capitalists are the business guys ruling, and now it's a battle between the peasants and the business people. But actually, really, people qualified to rule practically don't even exist anymore. And what's to speak of the people who are qualified to advise, the Brahmins who advise the people to rule, practically don't exist. We've talked about all these things, so I don't want to backtrack too much. I want to get into the new subject matter. But basically, the last verse is describing how if a ruler lets innocent living beings become subject to any suffering in his kingdom, all good fortune will leave that ruler, all good fortune will leave the kingdom. So it's very important that he properly chastises and punishes those who do wrong. So we're not averse to capital punishment. You know, if you do bad, you know, in like ancient times, a thief would get his hand chopped off, and guess what? He won't steal again. And you know, and other thieves will know, holy crap, that guy got his hand chopped off, and he'll think like 5 to 10 times before he actually thinks of stealing, and so on. But yeah, so these are these things. Corporal punishment was A-okay by the Vedic system, and guess what? It works. You know, I know myself, when I was young, I didn't like that my parents would physically discipline me. But as I got older, I'm like, and I saw other kids acting and things, I'm like, wow, I would beat that kid, you know? But so now I'm even seeing with Abiram, I can't do it yet. But even once he gets 5, 6, 7 years old, you know, eventually, you know, if he's really bad, he's going to have to get the hand will have to guide him in the right direction. So like this. Danya, Hare Krishna.
Well, look at how River turned out. Never got beat.
Yeah, well, that's good. That's good. You don't have to beat your kids, but you.
You can beat him next time by bringing him here.
Yeah, no problem.
What he missed out on.
No. Beating is not necessarily a good thing, but it's not necessarily a bad thing, actually.
Yeah.
Actually, we probably do this,
So
like,
appropriate.
yeah, if a child is running in the middle of the road and you take the child and you throw him back out of harm's way. No, not bad at all. You know, good. Oh, you saved him. You know, like, so similarly, you know, if somebody kills, you know, a murderer kills, you know, and you kill the murderer, good, actually. If someone came in here and started opening fire on everyone and, you know, Parth turns and beat him over the head with something and he dropped dead, we'd all, yay, Parth, very good, you know. So like this. So this is, Maharaj Pariksha, he's ready to kill the abuser, Kali. But we're going to see now. Kovishcha tava padang strin, Sorabeya chatushpada, Mabhuvangs tvadrisha rashtre, Ragyam Krishnanuvartinam, Kaha, who is he? Avrishchat, cut off, Tava, your, Padan, legs, Trin, 3, Sorabeya, O son of Surabhi, Chatubada, you are 4-legged, Ma, never to be, Bhuvan, it so happened, Tvadrisha, as yourself, Rashtre, in the state, Ragyam, of the kings, Krishna Anuvartinam, those who follow the codes of Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He, Maharaj Parikshit, repeatedly addressed and questioned the bull thus, O son of Surabhi, who has cut off your 3 legs? In the state of the kings who are obedient to the laws of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, there is no one as unhappy as you. So purport, the kings or the executive heads of all states must know the codes of Lord Krishna, generally Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, and must act accordingly in order to fulfill the mission of human life, which is to make an end to all miseries of material conditions. One who knows the codes of Lord Krishna can achieve this end without any difficulty. In the Bhagavad Gita, in a synopsis, we can understand the codes of Godhead, and in the Srimad Bhagavatam, the same codes are explained further. So Bhagavad Gita will give you a synopsis of these codes, and Srimad Bhagavatam will give you a deep explanation of these spiritual codes. So, actually a ruler should know the religious codes. They should know what's called Dharma. And if you don't know Dharma, you don't know what should be done and what should not be done, as given by the codes of Krishna, you'll have no idea what to do. You'll make all kinds of mistakes and create all kinds of unfortunate circumstances. Even in your own life, if you protect Dharma, if you learn what Dharma is and you protect it, Dharma will protect you. But if you don't understand the codes of Dharma, because just maybe lazy or not paying attention much or don't really want to seek it out, then just so much misfortune will happen. Why did that happen? I have no idea. It's crazy. It's just because you're in the state of ignorance. You don't understand these higher codes. If you understand the higher codes, you can know exactly why that happened. Oh, I neglected this, this, and this, and I have to rectify, and like this. So anyway, anyone who understands the codes of Krishna can solve all material problems in this life. Otherwise, no chance. You'll make too many mistakes due to your our ignorance. Really, we'll just make so many mistakes. Every day I'm learning new mistakes I'm making. When Krishna was personally in a state where the codes of Krishna are followed, no one is unhappy. Where such codes are not followed, the first sign is that 3 legs of the representative of religion are cut off, and thereby all miseries follow. When Krishna was personally present, the codes of Krishna were being followed without question. But in his absence, such codes are presented in the pages of Srimad Bhagavatam for the guidance of the blind persons who happen to be at the helm of all affairs. So what are the 3 legs? This is a review. What are the 3 legs that have been taken off? There's 4 pillars of Dharma. And they coincide with our 4 regulative principles. That's the reason Prabhupada gave them, because these are the pillars of Dharma. If you don't observe these and act sinfully, you cannot expect any good fortune, and what's to speak of bhakti to come.
Honesty.
Yes.
That's one, right?
What?
Honesty.
Honesty, yeah, that's actually the one remaining
still
leg.
standing, yeah.
It's still,
Supposedly.
yeah, it's still standing actually. Honesty is the limb that's still standing, but it's under attack. The final limb also in Kali Yuga is under attack, but he still has some strength and he's holding it up. The truth can be found. If the truth couldn't be found, you couldn't somehow come and hear about Srimad Bhagavatam. But because the truth still exists and is being presented somewhere, honesty still is, it's trembling, but it's there. It's still standing. But what has been almost completely lost already? Mercy. Mercy, this is why the rise of meat eating constantly everywhere. A lack of mercy, people have no thought or care at all that they're harming other living entities. And not just animals, and that's the ultimate symptom. When people are feasting on animals' flesh, they've lost all mercy actually. So that's one leg lost. Then the next is austerity, discipline. When discipline is lost, what do people do? They get intoxicated. Drinking alcohol, smoking marijuana. These are lightweight, and then there's more heavier intoxications that people do. When people lose discipline, they seek intoxication for escape, and like this. And then the third is a lack of cleanliness, internal and external. Cleanliness of so many habits, hygiene, and things like this. But also the symptom of this is seeking sex life. Actually, seeking sex for pleasure is actually a lack of internal cleanliness. One actually has no idea who they are. If they're seeking sex for pleasure, they actually have no idea that they're a spirit soul. They have no idea that this body is just a vessel. And they are identifying with this body and seeking the body's pinnacle of pleasure, sex life. But it's the ultimate ignorance, because it's not who we are. And it takes a deeply thoughtful and realized person to actually understand who we are. So anyway, the symptom of a lack of cleanliness is illicit sex especially. Sex has its function. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, he is sex that produces God-conscious children, actually. So there's a way to do that in the Vedas called Garbhadan Samskara and so on. And actually, the real sex pleasure, I know in my life, the ultimate sex pleasure that has come is now Abhiram. Abhiram is the greatest pleasure that ever came from sex in my life. Other small pleasures were also there, but in the scheme of things, he's the greatest pleasure. So anyhow, and then finally, the last pillar is honesty. And that one can be destroyed by all kinds of dishonest means. You have to watch all of today's businesses and money markets and casinos and things. So many dishonest pyramid schemes and things like that. There's all kinds of retirement schemes where they have you put all your money a certain place and then they crash your retirement and things like that. All of these things are present, dishonest, cheating means. But the devotee avoids these gamblings and will ultimately, follow the codes of Dharma. So that's the last one, but it's under attack. That's why we can have a president of the United States who is famous for running casinos, and all these things. Also having a steak business, and also having a liquor business as well. All those things are coming. The leaders of society are like this. And the other side is not much better or any better at all, actually. They also do all kinds of crazy things. So anyhow, yeah, this is the symptom of Kali Yuga. But a God-conscious ruler, a leader like Emperor Parikshit will strongly condemn and even chastise such opposing elements, especially if they're in charge of the kingdom. But we don't have any of those type of rulers nowadays, so now we're just destined to be ruled by these fools who will inevitably bring us into more and more hell. And that's all we can really do is take our own local, institutions and purify them from within, and purify our own hearts from within, and maybe we can enter something nice. So even here at Mantra Central, we're trying to run this place as by Vedic principles, and anyone who somehow can come into Mantra Central's sphere can possibly be benefited. That's the only way I can practically see, and that was Prabhupada's vision for ISKCON, and Bhaktisiddhanta's vision for the Gaudiya Math, was that it could be a place of shelter from all of the many material misfortunes that are guaranteed by people who rule things and run things by irreligious means. So, we'll do one more verse. Akyahi Vrishabhadrang va Sadhunam Akritagasam Atma Vairupya Kartaram Parthanang Kirti Dushanam. Akyahi, just let me know. Vrisha, O bull. Bhadram, good. Vaha, for you. Sadhunam, of the honest. Akrita Agasam, of those who are offenseless. Atma Vairupya, deformation of the self. Kartaram, the doer. Parthanam, of the sons of Pritha. Kirti Dushanam, blackmailing the reputation. O bull, you are offenseless and thoroughly honest, therefore I wish all good to you. Please tell me of the perpetrator of these mutilations, which blackmail the reputation of the sons of Pritha. So he's taking it actually as an attack on his reputation, that such an innocent and offenseless and honest personality like the bull of Dharma can be so severely beaten under his jurisdiction. And so he's saying, who's done this to you? So the reputation of the reign of Maharaj Ramachandra and that of the kings who followed in the footsteps of Maharaj Ramachandra, like the Pandavas and their descendants, are never to be forgotten, because in their kingdom, offenseless and honest living beings were never in trouble. The bull and the cow are the symbols of the most offenseless living beings, because even the stool and urine of these animals are utilized to benefit human society. The descendants of the sons of Pritha, like Maharaj Parikshit, were afraid of losing their reputations. But in the modern days, the leaders are not even afraid of killing such offenseless animals. Actually, I was talking about it last time, the government literally subsidizes the meat and dairy industry to make it cheaper and easier for them to go on with their atrocious activities. Herein lies the difference between the reign of those pious kings and the modern states ruled by irresponsible executive heads without knowledge of the codes of God. The next one's short, so we can do one more. Jane nagasya ghang yunjan sarvatosya cha madbayam sadhunang bhadrameva syad asadu damane krite. Jane, to the living beings. Anagasi, those who are offenseless. Agham, sufferings. Yunjan, by applying. Sarvata, anywhere and everywhere. Asya, of those of such offenders. Cha, and. Matbayam, fear me. Sadhunam, of the honest persons. Bhadram, good fortune. Eva, certainly. Syat, will take place. Asadu, dishonest miscreants. Damane, curbed. Krite, being so done. Whoever causes offenseless living beings to suffer must fear me anywhere and everywhere in the world. By curbing dishonest miscreants, one automatically benefits the offenseless. Purport. Actually, a ruler, or one who rules or leads, a Kshatriya's nature is actually to protect the innocent. That's what a Kshatriya does. They protect the innocent. So how do they protect the innocent? They chastise severely those who are offensive, So they chastise them, punish the criminals, Yeah, that's how you protect the innocent, Like like we gave the example of someone came in here, and there's not many people, but say someone went into a church and started opening fire. People do things like that nowadays. But if someone were to turn and beat and kill the person opening fire, we'd celebrate such a person. He saved all those lives. The police would not charge him. No one would charge him. Everyone would reward him. Why? Because this is actually what needs to be done. So a proper ruler will actually do. Actually, even our justice system, they give certain people the death penalty. If not, they will send them, lock them up in a box for the rest of their life because you're a threat to others and things like this. So Prabhupada says, dishonest miscreants flourish because of cowardly and impotent executive heads of state. But when the executive heads are strong enough to curb all sorts of dishonest miscreants in any part of the state, certainly they cannot flourish. When the miscreants are punished in an exemplary manner, automatically all good fortune follows. As said before, it is the prime duty of the king or the executive head to give protection in all respects to the peaceful, offenseless citizens of the state. The devotees of the Lord are by nature peaceful and offenseless, and therefore it is the prime duty of the state to arrange to convert everyone to become a devotee of the Lord. That would be ideal. Thus automatically there will be peaceful, offenseless citizens. Then the only duty of the king will be to curb the dishonest miscreants. That will bring about peace and harmony all over human society. So what should be feared is breaking the codes of Dharma, breaking the codes of religion. We should learn them. We should study the Vedas. We should study Srimad Bhagavatam. We are studying Srimad Bhagavatam every day here, and we can live our life by its principles. Also, this is the number thing we should fear. Why? Because we'll have to repent anytime that we don't follow the codes of religion. Our karma will catch up to us, or the reaction to that will be not something we desire. Like a thief never thinks he's going to get caught. I was doing an illegal herb business some years ago, and I never thought I would get caught. And I had so many signs and people telling me you're going to get caught. And I was like, no, I got this. And guess what? I got caught. And I had to repent for that. And I lost practically all of the money that I earned doing it. I lost almost, it was interesting. I received an inheritance from my grandfather. And it was like $12,000. It wasn't so much, but it was something. Especially I was like Madhav's age. I was like, $12,000. What do I do with this? So anyway, I decided I was gonna drop out of school and I was gonna get into business. But I was like, well, I don't know what business I can get in. But you know what? I really like smoking weed because I had no austerity in my life. So I was, and then I went back and moved with my parents, and nobody in that town had any access to these things that I somehow had access to at college. So I was like, wow. I know I can go here and I can bring in, I can help all these other people here who don't have access to this thing. So one thing led to another thing, and next thing you know, a very profitable endeavor started coming in my life. And interestingly enough, I accumulated so much wealth over some years, actually, like 4 years of doing this. And by the time it all was said and done, the police stole this. I got stolen. I was dealing with shady characters. Someone stole like $5,000+ from me all in one swoop. I was like, oh my God, But anyway, by the time it was all said and done, you know what I was left with at the very end? The exact amount that my grandfather left me. That exact $12,000. When it was all said and done, that's what was left back. So that should you legally, dharmically, I received a certain amount of money, but adharmically, I took so many steps to. The one good thing I did do was because I didn't go to work, I studied yoga and Krishna consciousness. And I actually learned bhakti yoga in that time. So that was the one valuable thing about not going to work and spending my time that way. But all of the earning illegally. By the end of the day, the exact amount. It was crazy. After all the legal fines and lawyers and this, that, and the other, the exact amount that I was destined to get, I had again. And I was like, wow, all right. And that's just money.
You had 12,000 at the end?
At the end. In the beginning and at the end.
Like your grandpa
set
it forward.
Yes. So he set me up. I went through a whole big loop of lessons over 4 years, and at the end I had exactly what I started with. Yeah, so that was, it worked out interesting. But anyway, we should follow the codes of religion. If we break the codes of religion, that's why we have our regulative principles here. If we break the regulative principles, we cannot expect good fortune. Even part of, there's certain food items that are not recommended. We should try to check the boxes. Obviously meat is not there, but also fish, eggs, onions, and garlics, and things like that, which helps stimulate lower modes of nature. We should avoid these things: coffees, teas, intoxicants, caffeine, which take our mind away from any type of disciplined practice. It's guaranteed. I mean, you could just test it in your life. But if you eventually were to get off caffeine and then you take caffeine again, it'll give you like mental anxiety. Or if I know people who have been on caffeine for many, many years, and then if they do somehow or other take the steps to get off caffeine, such a mental clarity would come, actually, a much greater increase. So anyway, these are some things. The main thing is don't eat very sinful things like meat. But there are other things too, because we want to promote a dharmic and sattvic lifestyle. So these things in food is small, but necessary, actually. And then, sex life. Ideally, you're not attracted to sex life, but this is the number one most attractive thing in the material world. So people are, constantly attracted. But anyway, if you are attracted, the dharmic thing to do about this is to have children and to do a Garbhadan Samskara and to properly facilitate, bringing a God-conscious child into the world and raising the God-conscious child. And it's been my experience that by having a child come into the world, all that time that I had to meditate on sex life is now practically gone. I can't even, we couldn't even fathom, making time for sex life in our life with the baby and all the responsibilities we're juggling. So anyway, it works. If you use sex life for its proper function, then the improper function of sex life will naturally decrease. So like this. And then what's the last one? Yeah, dishonesty. Be very honest in your dealings. Be very honest in your endeavors to sustain yourself in this world. I've learned that I have a tendency in this life to, I was on the black market and things like this, but Krishna has showed me so many things. Even nowadays, I started looking into different trading and investing and things like this, and some successful. Like I invested in silver many years ago, and that actually helped us a ton to even get this house. It wouldn't have happened without that investing. But also I'm now learning about newer, interesting investments of cryptocurrency and stocks and things like that. And yeah, you could fall into all kinds of dishonest traps. People manipulate the markets and do things. So if you try to earn your wealth this way, you're gonna be very, you may be repenting, how did I make that mistake, or things like that, these things are like this. But, what's to speak of going to casinos and gambling and things like this. But yeah, be very mindful and follow. There are 4 varnas, how to honestly live in this world. What is my varna? What is my dharma? What is the duty? We talked about Shudras. Shudras, anyone who's an employee in this world, that's kind of the varna. We're to be kind of in the kind of the Shudra mode. And what do? We serve the higher caste. But ultimately, what do we want to serve? We want to serve the Brahmins and the Vaishnavas. That's who we want to serve. And Lord Chaitanya, he chants, Naham Vipro, Nacha Narapatir Napi Vaishyo Na Shudro, Naham Barni, Nacha Grihapatir. You have to go, Danya? Oh, okay. Nacha Grihapatir, No Vanishto Yatirva, Kintu Prodyan, Nikila Paramananda Purnamritabdher Gopi Bartu, Parakamalayodasa Das Anudasaha. So he pretty much at the end of it all, he's saying, I'm not a Brahmin, I'm not a Kshatriya, I'm not a Vaishya nor a Shudra. I'm not a Brahmachari, I'm not a Grahastha, I'm not a Vanaprastha, nor a renunciate. But due to the ever-expanding, all-blissful Kintu Prodhyan, ever-expanding Paramananda of supreme bliss, Nikila, ever-expanding, Paramananda, supreme bliss, Purnamri of complete nectar. What is that complete nectar? Gopi Bhartu, Krishna, or the master of the gopis, Padakamalaya, or his lotus feet. I am the servant of the servant of the servant. Actually, that's what our real identity is, and that's what we really want to get to. But we want to also analyze what is our dharma? What am I really doing? You know, like even myself here, I have Brahmin dharma. I'm supposed to be a Brahmin, but I'm actually also not qualified to do all kinds of Brahmin things and subsist just on being a Brahmin. Like I'm not qualified to do all the yagyas and all these things. It's like an aspiration of my guru. It's an aspiration of the Vaishnavas that I be Brahmin like, but I'm also not really like so much qualified as a Brahmin. I actually have unfortunately, more qualification as like a Vaishya. You know, someone who is manages money and finances and things like that. You know, running like Airbnb, all these things. So I have to still kind of understand that element. But we should all work towards our higher dharma to serve the Lord. But we have to start where we're at, you know. Many of us, we might, in the corporate world, you kind of have to be subject to being a Shudra. Like, so you have to serve your boss. You can't just say, no boss, screw you, I don't like what you're doing. You know, maybe there are some ways that you can challenge the authority properly, but if you do that, but you have to serve them. So we can honestly serve them, and we can religiously serve them, and we can use the fruits of our labor in a religious way, and we actually will have nothing to worry about. But, so this is kind of, this is the greatest thing to fear, is the abuse of dharma. But in order to fear this, we have to also know, well, what is my dharma? But if we have no understanding of the codes of God given, as Prabhupada said in this purport, in Bhagavad Gita in a synopsis, and in Srimad Bhagavatam in a more expanded way, then we'll of course abuse dharma, because we don't know what's dharma and what's adharma. Actually, it says in Bhagavad Gita, tasmach chastrang pramanam te karya vivastito gyatva shastra vidhanoktam karma kartamihar hasi. And that Shastra, or Krishna's codes, are our evidence. And if you want to determine what should be done and what should be done, in determining what should and what should not be done, knowing Shastra is in all of its rules and regulations will determine what work should and what should not be done in this world. So if you don't know Shastra, though, if we don't approach the Shastra, if we don't approach Krishna's codes or the devotees, then we won't know what should and what should not be done, and then we'll, of course, do what should not be done because we don't know it. And then all kinds of results will come that we don't like. And then in those results, we have to repent. Oh, where did I go wrong? But what causes all suffering in this material world? It's our ignorance, actually. So we have to become enlightened. Best way is through a spiritual master who could thoroughly enlighten you and guide you. But also, many mentors or shiksha gurus can also help you along the path, or Vartma Pradarshika gurus. Like, hey, like Prabhupada is acting as everyone's Vartma Pradarshika and shiksha guru and saying, read Bhagavad Gita, you can know all these things. Read Srimad Bhagavatam, it can be more expanded upon in your life. But we don't prioritize, I have so many duties to do, and okay, maybe I'll read once a month or something like that. But no, every day we should know and know more and more and more. What are the codes of Krishna? What does Krishna want? And then we'll know what to do. But if we don't know what Krishna wants, we just speculate. Oh, I know, I think Krishna wants this today. And then all of a sudden it doesn't go right, and we're like, oh my God, I thought you wanted this, Krishna. Why? Why are you doing this to me? But he tells us what he wants, actually. He actually tells us what he wants. Did you look? Did we look? We have to look. So that's what Bhagavatam study is about. We're looking into what Krishna wants. We're understanding the proper duties and what should not be done of the living entities. And we should absolutely fear crossing what Krishna wants. For ourselves, because we'll suffer, but even more importantly, For displeasing Krishna is like the very, it's the very thing that one should never want to aspire for, as if you want to really be a devotee. Like a devotee is the one who anukulyena Krishna anushilanam, who does favorable activities to Krishna. So we should never ever want to do something unfavorable if we really want to be a devotee. And that's the other thing. Do we really want to be a devotee? That's a whole other realm. But Grantharaj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Thank you guys for coming. A special thank you to Matt Damon. And I like just calling you Matt Damon because it's like the famous actor. Matt Damon, and it's his name if anyone's wondering, but he's also a famous actor. And Danya, thank you for joining. And Sampath, thank you for staying. I know it's a little late today. Parth, sorry guys. And yes, thank you. You know, this is especially good for me because I have to work especially hard on these